Are you coming to the tree? They strung up someone, they said she wasn't free.
I'm Kim Decolonizing. I wouldn't call myself a writer. I would call myself somebody who sometimes writes, but who does a lot of other things too. And I think I'm really interested in a project or in projects that embody the body as well as all other practices like writing or performing or doing witchcraft or dancing.
Grossmer's tree. There were many trees in the garden. The trees are what I remember best, and the tree I remember best of all is the Blutbuch. It was large and had some long hanging branches, making it easy to climb into. I felt more connected to it than I did to people.
Yeah, I think I'm interested in, at the moment I call it like becoming unsplit. So I think that a lot of the culture, the European culture that started with the Greco-Roman proto-fascism that we now have another wave of, is working with splitting up people and different identities and bodies and creating differences, and through the differences creating power over. I'm interested in creating works and projects that don't use power over, so that don't, like, I don't want to write about, but I want to write with. So in my writing practices that led to this one book, Blutbuch, I try to invite different agencies, different voices, different tones, different writers. And so I think as an introduction, I would say I'm interested in power with rather than power over, which I learned from the eco-feminist witch Starhawk, which is really an important figure for me. Starhawk is a Canadian-born eco-feminist witch psychologist activist, and they are at the center, or one of the centers of this movement of Wicca that's trying to learn from pagan roots, but not trying to find an origin. Like, as I already mentioned, fascism is always interested in finding roots and finding bloodlines that go all the way back to an imagined origin, and therefore legitimizing their being in a place and owning the place and purity of their race and bodies. And so the Wiccan movement is not interested in finding pure origins, but I would say rather impure origins, because all of the pagan cultures have been wiped out by Christianity. For me, it's really important to not make a binary again, like I said, becoming unsplit is like trying to transform the binaries and not doing something against the binaries, but adding things, right? So I want to be in writing practices and other practices that don't say but, but say and, right? So not becoming a force against, because if you work against something, you will always be bound to that, right? So if I constantly react to the hate I get, I will always be the answer to that hate and to the violence. And I'm interested in becoming more than an answer to violence, and working different ways.
It had an element of the monstrous, the hermaphroditic. It was a mixture of animal and tree. It sat beneath its red foliage, the kid, as though beneath a second proper skin, and when the sun shone through, the foliage was a skin from the inside. The child asked for lessons. The Blutbuch knew so well how existing works, how to find one's own form, how to fill a body, how not to be driven out of one's own skin, how to withstand a storm, the winter. Once the child said to grandmother that the Blutbuch was its favorite tree. I'll never forget the expression on her face. An alliance.
Writing and witchcraft is basically the same, and for me, and therefore I have always been writing. Right now I look at the world through a metaphor of like textile and as a fabric. I feel like the world is a fabric, and also they're not trying to have a binary of I am this entity outside of the world, but I am the world. I am part of this fabric. I am part of this textile. So that means that the world is made up of threads somehow, but that are all the same material, right? So it's different threads, but it's all the same material. And a textile is like a text woven, right? But so it can be unwoven or woven differently. And there also, in the book, I'm interested in care magic, and so I would also make a differentiation between care and care magic, because I think care is a capitalized practice. It's often done by like women and feminine people, and also post-migrant people. So it's like very badly paid work, and it's also there's the binary of like caring for someone is like you have to give somebody something, and so you and whom you're giving something, whom you're cleaning, whom you're taking care of, whom you're listening to is like two different things. And in this book and in my writing practice, I'm looking for experiencing myself and everything else as the same, and like maybe different parts of a textile, right? And so if I draw here, like it moves the whole fabric, right? And I think the way our bodies also come into being, like our bodies are made up of narratives, and like if you really do the work and see how in different times what a body was, what men and women were, what racialized bodies were, what able-bodiedness meant was very different. That's for me like a huge hope. So because I can see it was different, so I know it can be different. And I think when I say I have always been writing is like I have always already been part of this huge, long textile that is this world. And I have already been, my body has already been written into what exists, right? So how my body had moves, or what kind of movements my body can make, was like already just recoding, like entering a code that has already been written for a very long time. That's why I feel like I have already been passively writing myself the day I was born into this huge, huge textile thing that we call world. And so I think then starting to come into touch again, like starting to becoming unsplit of this also body-mind dichotomy that we have in Western society, I think was like in puberty, and like to realize, oh, I move in a certain way, I am gendered in a certain way, I'm racialized in a certain way as a white person also, that I can undo or I can unlearn, that I can rewrite. And that's also this care magic that I've been trying to make into a book, was also this recoding, basically the code, but not feeling like I am something different than what I write about and the world, but already my fingers are already the thread that I'm weaving into a text, and seeing really the text as a body, as a active creature, right? So in English and French you have this a body of work, or le corps du texte. So it's really the image that a text isn't something non-physical. And so I think I have already always been a body, and so it means I have already always been a text and a textile. And so the coming into writing is didn't have a clear start for me.
How does a person become a blood beech? How does a person become as big and strong as you? How does a person defend themselves against all the names they are constantly being given? How do you fight back the names that you've been called? The Berli, the little bear, the Hasli, the little bunny, and the Kafferli, the little bug. Your lessons are just stand there, shed your leaves, endure, and then create new foliage, come into leaf, transform. In my childhood, the people were much more threatening than the monsters underneath the bed or in the cupboard. They always had this body, and this monstrous things about these bodies were that they were never just one form of being in the world, but rather always had things like a gender or a color. And you had to decide. You have to be either or. And I wanted to get out of this either orness. I wanted to become you, Blood Beech.
I hope it works. Sorry. No. Okay. I got stuck. Happens a lot in life, right?
Thanks. Hi, back. Oh no, it doesn't work again. No, it works. Actually, I had a dream about an interview I will have in 10 years, and the interview asked, so now, you wrote this book, but now that you have this career as a stand-up comedian, how did this decision go?
Yeah, I don't believe in healing anymore. Like I think that's also like a kind of Christian medicinal concept of having a diagnosis. So diagnosis is, as far as I know, Greek and means to tell apart. And that's already also this creating a split, right? So to know what is sick in a body and to know what is healthy in a body, and making this clear separation. This is something we need to heal or cut away. So I'm interested in knowing and telling together. And a split also that I'm really angry about, I think, is like the split into these realms of psychology, politics, art. And so, like, I think for me, it's all got to do with each other, right? So I think if we're sick, we're told it's an individual problem, but actually different kind of bodies have different kind of illnesses, and there's always a political side effect of this. Part of my care magic is trying to rediscipline myself in becoming in writing, in doing a practice that is as well as writing, as well as politics, as well as medicinal, psychological, spiritual. And if I go back to this, to Western medicine, doing like a diagnosis, so the sick body is regarded as also like a story, right? So it's like somehow the body came into being ill or sick or unhealthy. But rather than like seeing how exactly came this into being and how exactly is the body woven into society and politics and nature, Western society just starts in the middle of the story of this person with like the sickness, and is not interested in knowing together the whole story or the bigger story. So that's, I think, some of my thoughts about how a text can be care magic. When I said like also that I try to invite different voices and other writers and other bodies and agencies and intelligences into my writing, is also the wish to be many and to not follow this kind of narrative of the writing genius like Shakespeare or Goethe in German, of like the one guy dude who is like inventing everything out of his own belly, but like saying, yeah, we're like, everything is collective and you're always part of this collective textile. And so if you do care magic rather than care, it's not you trying to heal someone that is different from you, because the thing that is maybe suffering isn't apart from you. And so it's not about giving something, because then it's like I'm something, the other is something, and I'm giving something. But it's like more about turning towards and becoming aware. In German we have this word Zuwendung, which is like turning towardsness. And I think that can also be like an object or a kiss or something. So giving a turning towardsness can be many things. And it's not about making something whole again, right? So I don't believe in that's the differentiation. I think healing is trying to make whole again. And, heal is also close to, heil, or like in German fascism, this greeting, heil, hail someone. But so the transformation, the care magic is trying to own up to the heritage of violence. Like in my book, I write a lot about the witch hunts and the whole feminine line that, in family trees is always only the patriarchal father's line. And so I'm trying to also weave a female line through time and history. but also not wanting to have it complete. So like there's also in this feminine family tree, there's also adopted kids, there's also a dog, there's chosen family, so as also not to try and imagine a direct, clear, inherited line of blood, but something that is maybe more to do with this turning towardsness that creates bonds.
Dear Grandma, I'd like to understand what it was like to be you, a normal, lower middle class woman in the 20th century in Switzerland. I'd like to understand why I have barely any memories of my childhood, and why the only ones I have are of you. I'd like to find a language in which I can ask you, where are my people? And I'd really like to know how this shit got into our veins. In the language I've inherited from you, in Bernese German, my mother tongue, mother is called Meer. It means both mother and the sea, sneak tweaked from the French la mer and la mer. For grandmother, Großmeer. For great-grandmother, Urgroßmeer, great grand sea. The women of my childhood are an element, an ocean. I remember my mother's legs. I remember wrapping my arms around them, gazing up at her and saying, "You are my Meer." I remember a feeling of home and of being utterly enveloped. The mare's love was so big we couldn't escape it, can't escape it. We swim for a lifetime to emerge from its depths. In the language I've inherited from you, my mare language, there are only two ways to be a body. Growing up in the palette of the German language forced me constantly into this 2x2 kindergarten crocodile. In the language I've learned from you, my mother tongue, my smother tongue, I don't know how to speak, how to write about myself. There's mother's tongue and your eyes and me, my body, my bodies, my corporeality. There's this writing I, and the child I once was, the child standing before the kindergarten crocodile, still needing to find its way. And I'm kind of permeated with the child, just like the moon is entirely held handlessly by the earth. But in writing, I have to differentiate between us, because otherwise the childhood body, because otherwise the flood of the past will wash me away.
I can't tell a body apart from language. The language is always already in our bodies, and I think all of our bodies are in language. And for me, language is huge, so it's not just the thing that is done with sounds by a human mouth. Language is, I think, everything that happens between different bodies. And another aspect of language is the power of language, or like the power aspect. So I think like also in our great Western proto-fascist culture, you know, there was this thing called colonialism. And there were two splits, I think, that happened there, like that were already there before. I think I would say since around 6,000, when like people started settling down and like not being nomads, but like owning a piece of land. And I think that was for me the first split, really, of you know, when you like travel around all the time, you can't really own much, right? So you can't possess things, and you can't possess land. Basically, you can just always come back to certain spaces, but you can't own it. I think the story of falling out of the paradise is in like in many different Mediterranean cultures is this falling out of this paradise, of this place that where everything is good, basically. And I think that maybe paradise isn't a place, but it's a relationship towards nature, and not being a part of nature, but being part of nature. And so I think this was the first split that happened, was like, you know, when you own something, you can't be it, right? So because owning something means you can give it away. And there's this German feminist philosopher, Eva von Redeker, who says like also that owning something is having the right to destroy it, which I think is like a very, very good analysis of, climate crisis also, because many human cultures feel like they own nature or the planet, and like feeling like they're a part of it, and that's why we can destroy it, because it's not us, right? So they think we're outside of nature, we're culture.
Bloody beech, bloody bitch, bloody stitch, bloody fucking hell. The wool's far too pale. Yet again the wool's too pale for the chumper I owe grandmere. And now the wound on my chins burst open again, too, because I keep fiddling with it, and it's dripping onto this shit pale shitty wool for the shitty chumper I promised Großmere, promised her last winter at that. And now it's late summer, or autumn actually. Going by the calendar, it's autumn, but summer's clearly not going anywhere. It's come to stay, and I'm staying too, wasting away here on my couch continent. And Großmere obviously, of course, doesn't even actually need this shitty chumper in the slightest. What she needs is the occasional, hey, how are you doing? I'm your grandchild, remember? We spent my childhood together. But I can't. Right now, I just can't, because I'm wasting away here in this fucking heat. That's not a reason, obviously, why I don't go to see grandmother, but I know the reason cannot be crammed into a because clause. I'm withering away here in my apartment in this frenzy, this cocktail of pain, medication, and gender pharma and the green fairy, because I've been written off sick. Haha, written and sick. I wish I'd written. I've spent this entire ridiculous boiler pot summer burrowing around for the her story of the Blutbuch, and trying to write about it, and I've written nothing. I've only gathered, and now Großmere been put into the dinosaur home. Now I should be visiting her, and I'm knitting this stupid pink jumper instead, or attempting to knit it now at the weekend. I mean, I've been beaten fembuch bloody. Now the pigs from the grocery store have pounded a second silent mouth into my chin, and again the wind is coming to help them and changing my paper around so I can read you where I wanted to read you about this violence that happened to me. And now I'm drowning in time and knocking myself out on the dregs of my bar. Now I'm sitting on a fat folder of my Blutbuch research. Now finally I can make a start on the writing with the Blutbuch with this insane summer, but sorry, one thing at a time, in a line, not in a straight line, of course, but curving and looping. Perhaps like this. Previously on Blutbuch.
And around like between 14 and 1500, there was this many things going on, and one of the things that was happening was that Europe started expanding, because there was a lot of, many different things, but also a shortage of people. Like there had been these pests and many other things. And so they started really this project called Europe, or colonialism. And in that they wanted to, like, they also wanted to own other lands, and they wanted to own other bodies as well. I think that's when racialization really started to take off, and where the human became a figure of exclusion. So if the human is like this really, I think, very European project, which is needed to say we are civilized, we are unwild, we are white, we are often male. And so, like, one of the forms in which non-European, non-white people were created as something different, as something unhuman or not fully human, I think was also through like pushing down like culture and knowledge and language. So the project of who is a true human is also who has a developed language, and also language being a broader thing of culture, of interaction, etc. One of the problems I have with literature is also it's this bourgeois white project in Europe that that is used to define who is a valuable contributing citizen to European culture and who isn't. And if I already am with like the project of colonialism, I really want to quickly also go into this intersection of race and gender. The split was deepened there. So in order to be able to own other people in other countries, in order to be able to destroy them or to capitalize them, Europeans had to create themselves as like more civilized, or like as better, right? And in this, like this racialization was one part of it, saying that often racialized bodies are childlike, they're often like naive, they are in this split of body and mind that is so patriarchal. Like the white male body is the mind, and all the other bodies are just bodies, are the sinful, in the Christian vocabulary, sinful, lustful material that will deteriorate, right? And so the animalistic is another form of dehumanization, saying like, oh, they're like comparing them to animals. One other thing that was used to create difference was gender, and there are really very many examples where like colonial Europeans went to other places and were like forbidding more than binary genders. Yeah, basically they were destroying all bodies that were not, they didn't see in like a binary system, but they were doing that, saying that the Europeans, the gender binary that was stronger in Europe was a sign of being civilized, of like the feminine being like clean and hairless. So hair is also a lot of used with this animalistic, racialized dehumanization. It was used as a means to say why Europeans are superior, right? My thesis is that Europe was Europe's first colony. So the whole witch hunt, the whole early history of Christendom, I think was this project of destroying all the things I already said in Europe. So trying to wipe out cultures and religions that were so-called pagan, because in these pagan cultures, there queer people and feminine people and women were quite important. For example, in the whole Dionysus, Bacchus, and Diana cultures. So these were like Dionysus and Bacchus were like these horned gods, and they were like sex, and queer sex was a very important part of this religion. So the horned gods made the horny ones. So that's why I think we say I'm horny. And yeah, so I think that's what happened, but it happened, I think, so early and so thoroughly that there's only very little sources about that. And I think that's also one of the reasons why Europe and the West is doing so much cultural appropriation, so much stealing and using and capitalizing other forms of culture that are much more body positive and that are more magic, because we have destroyed all of these practices, right? And there's even I know there's sources about the Reformation really forbidding to dance publicly, to dress colorfully, and so I think that's also a point where I'm trying to re-knit things that are split, looking at the own our European pagan cultures. Yeah, which is again one last remark on that, very dangerous, because the Nazis were also doing that. For example, saying, there's this original European culture, and all these their fetishization of Germanic cultures, etc. So I think it's a dangerous project. Again, not say I'm part of this pre-Christian European true paganist culture, but again, knowing that anyway, it's been wiped out, right? So we can't know anything for certain with this, but trying to write a dirty, an impure history of Europe.
Dina and Mo, friends of the main character, took me to the forest, and we made a big fire, and we danced around it, and I took all the things that are inside of me that have an impact on me, and I threw them in the fire, and I tried an invocation, a counterspell, and I called out, "Oh, big thingamajig, oh universe, everything that's there and no longer is and isn't yet, oh planet that creates us, oh you interplanetary space, oh my sense transcending doodads, I invoke you so I can be strong. Make me strong, give me force, any force, not necessarily the force. Here, to my fucking claw, I worship you. Exercise all voices that speak with my voice, that lust with my flesh, and close the looks that lick with my eyes. Please, give me another voice to enthrall, enchant, entrance my thicket, to beguile, bewitch, bechime with all the little forces. Please, lay out a circle, a barricade of spoken singing, broken clinging, as far as song will reach over concrete chasm. But what woe is me, voice stricken up, not even yet fully beginning. What if, like the frog prince in the ward thicket dress, what if I have left my spell weaving there in the well with the frog, among pebbles sized like babies' skulls, surrounded now by nothing but werewolfish mold? But then I grasp. You're already inside of me, you super duper force, creating subtle wispish things. I gather horizon around us. I stitch the texture of naughtiness to the sacred circle ball dress zebra stripes. I'm the transient who never arrives. Oh thingy whose name I do not name because it has all names. Surrender to my shield and scheme. Wrench out the rungs of my career ladder and sprinkle half-dried ketchup on my business plans. Spear the knights in shining armor with your red lacquered thorns. Skin me to my ears, the skin from which in our evolution we've epilated all hair. And transform me into a skinless she-wolf in heat and lead the night back home to me and then into temptation. 'Cause I will stand already by the big copper beech with my legs splayed open. Come on, incub bee demon, gimme your mummy semen. I'll receive the spores of the night, and I will hatch mules, beings made of jaw, of howl and decay, and the stones that they will sow narcosis-less into our bloated bellies shall not plunge us into waters, nor the depths, for we are made of the depths, and we are made of the flowing, and we will deliver you mold spores no vinegar can fight.